Here.
Commissioner Tao.
Here.
Y'all got a great in this. I know you're Commissioner. Commissioner Rocha, here, Commissioner Oka.
Here.
Councilmember Donovan, Mayor Pacioli are in a special closed session. We have like 5 minutes. So they're gonna try and make it over. They said it was only gonna be 2 hours. At 5 o'clock, it's supposed to be 2 hours. But about 7, so maybe they'll fish their way in. And then.
Okay, great. So the first order of business is public comment.
Mr. Butts is actually here to discuss number 3.
Okay, this
Four.
is just general public comment.
General public comment. I received.
Great. Okay, the next thing is to approve the minutes of the last meeting that took on April 4. Was there any changes anyone has? Right.
I move it.
Okay, is there a second? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? All right. So the next item is discussion and recommendation regarding the South Pasadena Abandoned Cases operating agreement. So, okay.
I was thinking.
So, Sheila, can you fill us
I'm going to
in?
give you an update. We're going out with that. So, as you know, we are moving forward with South Pasadena Abandoned Cases LLC. So, Arthur Bersert, Sarah, let's give it to all the time. And so we have discussed different options. He was given kind of 2 options to kind of choose from, and possibly a third with a percentage rent. He really wasn't excited about percentage rent. He really wanted to know what his rent was going to be each month and just pay his rent instead of having to figure out all of that, and which benefits us, honestly, benefits us. So his first one we talked about, he wants to invest $135,000 in capital. And so within the first 9 months of his agreement, everything would be complete. So the first 3 months he'd have phase 1, which is about $70,000 of project. It would be all the new batting or pitching machine, the new netting, LED lighting, the cage repair, like each little stall repair, shading and seating, his point of sale system, the new turf area, and bats and helmets for use in obviously from the batting cages. And so that was about $70,500. So that would be within the first 3 months. In the second phase, which would be the next 6 months, would be $62,000. That's where he would do the painting, the cleanup of the building, remodeling the inside to make it really work for his operation. We have restrooms, but he wants to put an ADA porta potty, so purchase one, but have the company come and actually do cleaning of it so that they're not using one of the skate park. He does want to add fencing in wrought iron across the front so that people just can't walk into that open area anymore. So kind of keep it secure, which protects the building, protects the cages and everything in the restroom. Retractable awning over the concession, since the sun kind of beams in there in the afternoon. Work on having adjustable netting that expands pages if they need it. And obviously cleaning up the landscape in there and redoing some landscape in the area. So that would be the $62,500. The information that he also gave us is that he would like to start paying rent after the completion of phase 1, which would be after the first month. Okay. All capitals will be, all these projects will be rented. The daily wages will be paid because it is government money. Daily wages have to be done, and then ensures also that so he doesn't have to pay for the permits that go through the committee process and everything is done to standard. which is typical. All improvements will be owned by the city upon completion, if he decides to leave. And all improvements, I said prevailing wages. So that was the option that he really didn't like. The other option was a, you go first year, you say 4,000 a month or 2,000 a month. It kind of depends on how much rent credit the city would give him. It would go like 2,000, next year 3,000, 4,000, and kind of progress through year 5 as long as all the capital is paid. And then after that, then that rent payment, and then extended either by the CPI, adjustment each year. And he kind of didn't like that. He wants to, he just rather kind of come in, start paying his rent, with the rent credits, and move forward that way. And so his rent would really be based off of the 4,000 a month. If he decided just to walk in and take over, the rent would normally be, we would look at it about 4,000 a month. His rent credits obviously would total 135,000. I would give you this, but since it's going to be a closed session document, I really can't hand it out. So I know it's all verbal, but I'm just letting you know. So looking at that first 60 months, the first 5 years, if you multiply that times 4,000, it's 240,000. So you minus his 135 of rent credit brings us down to 105. So taking that 105 over that span of 57 months, since I'm not paying rent the first 3 months, would be $2,157 a month rent for the first 5 years. The second, then after that, the second term will go to 4,000, and we could do a term. The second term, he asked for 5 years at $4,000, and then the city asking that the city take 20% of the rent and place it into a capital. So that would be $9,600 a year that would go into capital. And for that place, compared to like the golf course, even the tennis facility, 9,000 can buy a new ball machine and actually, do some work. Tennis facility, not so much. Might be able to get a light standard in. But so we looked at that and we were really kind of like, wow, okay. I thought it was, once we got it all in writing and done, I thought it was a pretty good overall, goal to set and to take the council. If I just to let you know, for the last 12 years, from 2011 to 2022, we as a city have only made $132,000 on our tax. So if I'm looking at from fiscal year 2023 or 2022, I'm sorry, to 2032, the city can make, including his 135 of his rent credit, we'll make about 350 with his rent credit, so it's 485,000. So it's a huge difference. And I think it's a fair start. I think it's a really good start. The only thing I think council might look at is that second term of 4,000 and maybe doing a CPI adjustment each year. I think that would be fair. I think it would be one of those not lower than 3%, not higher than 5% type of thing. Kind of how we go on a lot of our contracts here. So this is what I'm going to take to council and let them say yes or no, and see what direction they kind of want to go in. And if they decide, hey, let's move forward, the city attorney is already drafting an agreement with the basic template, and then he'll add in all these things, and then it'll go to council, and it'll go to approval, and we will be on our way. We'll have a conference. Oh. That is awesome. So, any questions? Anything anybody has? I know my finance guy over there is that question, which is fine. Okay. Any questions for anybody? Yes. I'm glad you're still here too.
Public comment to what we making the recommendation. But
This public comment is for tennis. We're talking.
oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said that. But at any rate, are there any operating conditions that are part of the agreement?
In the way
Such as hours, how many days?
right. He did actually give me a business plan, and it was at noon to 9, Monday through Friday, and then expanded hours on Saturday and Sunday. He was looking to do a lot of camps during the summer, pitching lessons, batting lessons. We're going to do a maintenance plan actually together on making sure things are maintained, so no one's calling and saying things aren't working. He's also thinking about doing some kind of family nights there, being able to do birthday parties, so kind of expanding on those things. Anything else that I'm missing?
Yeah, the other question we had was, why, there is a bathroom. First,
There's no bathroom down there.
oh,
There's a
that's what I
porta potty.
thought.
Yeah, there's a porta potty by the skate park. Never
They
go
would have they would have their own porta potty.
Yeah.
Would it have water?
He'll have a hot, yeah, probably more like hand sanitizer.
Do next portable ones in
Yeah.
on there? Diagram. And like full,
Trying to, yeah, I think he did, he wasn't sure that, he couldn't give me the whole specs of it, and I asked him, he needed to kind of give that more, so I can, when I go next week to council, that I can kind of give them a little more, so I'm sure that's gonna be a question they're gonna ask you. And so he's working on that, he was saying he was looking into pulling the water, obviously, from the building, but there's not hot water, so putting a hot water, those small little hot water, things that come in when we have to keep our buildings here, to come in and have hot. He's looking at that, but he's like, it's not gonna be building, but it's gonna be better looking than a porta potty. I just call it kind of white walled on the outside.
It's the movie.
It's the movie.
What I
Yeah.
remember on his display and
Yeah,
his stick, it was like a movie set.
Right.
For him, like.
And he was-
Rolling in, there's
Right.
one that you see in the morning show.
right.
Where they roll them in and then you walk up in. And if I recall, because it was.
He asked me,
Included
he is,
square
he's putting
area.
and a branch. That's the biggest thing. If we're gonna do this, we need to have our, he's supposed to be accessible. Yeah, he is. It's on the design.
Oh,
But we did talk about that. I'm like, you gotta make sure it's a handicap one. He said, no, and he was like, see, this has the ramp that goes up to it, so. So, yes,
Sheila, got a couple, just got a review what we did last time. We did the City council, let's say our city council approved. When did we begin operations?
so this goes on the 17th. We will probably start October 1.
October 1.
Yeah, because for me to go anytime sooner, the council report would have had to been on August. And I wouldn't have enough.
October 1 it begins. Now, if we can replace them, will there be new, batting things there? That's the first thing we're gonna do, is put new machines in there.
New machines is his first priority, exactly. As well as, covering it and then the new netting around, how it's all saggy and fixing the, new gating. Because the gates had that wide space with all the spin that shoot through. Doing that so in that first 3 months, being able to have it operational. And then the other things that he has on are not things that you necessarily have to be operational. It's just, it fancies it up. That's kind of what his line of thinking is. Get it operational, and then in that next 6 months, then do the other things.
So, beginning in October, we'll begin to update the equipment and the screens and everything. Will be any operation during that time, will be work in process and operation at the same time.
He's deciding on that. He said he would like to, if possible, because our thing is once we know council approves it, and we're on our way to council approval open session, then he's gonna, order a lot of things. And so he said, it might be a little bit faster, because I'll order the machines, I'll be able to put those in, and, honestly, people can play. But then I'm gonna have to close down and put my new netting up, or my new fences. So he's kind of looking at it as I don't want to have it open, then close, open, then close, open, then close. Some people can be like, what are you doing? So he's really looking for that 3 months to take it and just have it all ready. And if he's done before then he's like, I'll bring people in.
So we're looking at probably realistic start date in January. Probably, those 3 months are probably sort of time to
I was gonna say they pretty much are. Right, and then when January comes though, it's gonna be full on baseball.
And I would suggest too, exactly what you said. He needs to.
Get in there, get in
complete
there.
it, then open, because, yeah, we go, I mean, that's been the whole frustration with this cage. I said, oh, great, let's go to the cage, and then all of a sudden you show up and it's all closed down, it's like, you're like, wait a second, and, oh, we'll be open, you know, in a couple months.
Right.
You know, if he does that, open and shut, people won't, will gravitate to it when he does open.
It'll be a big deal.
Yeah.
In your presentation, you were talking about, I believe, 10 years, correct? Is the agreement 5 years and renewable for 5 years? It's 5 and 5.
5 and 5. We will probably do 5, that additional 5, kind of that, just because he's put all this time and effort into it. He needs to be able to run an operation. You know, you can't go in 5 years and then be walking out. Like, how do you keep your business going? So, we'll probably look at more of that. It's somewhat like we did the consent agreement. This is what you need to complete in 5 years. You complete it, we move forward. That expectation.
Now, you make it, what was the total amount of capital investment going to make on this?
$135,000.
135,000. And will that all be made during the first 3 months, or will it be 20,000?
You mean Bill, the use of it?
Yes,
The first 9 months, everything will be completed.
first 9 months.
9 months.
Then you said he's gonna do it in 2 phases.
Right.
What's
The first
that?
phase is that 3 months so that he can at least have it operational. And then that second one's like he's cleaning, painting, and remodeling the concession stand, making sure the bathrooms in, putting up the gate across the front, doing some turf, the retractable awning. Those are the things that are not needed to run back. Trying to look at what, let's get it up and going, and then I can do and get these things. Think we need more, let me know, Fred, you're the money guy.
Run the numbers in my head.
Yes.
Anyone else? So what do you would like us to do basically?
Just if you'd like this, and you would like us to move forward with this, it just tells me, I can just say in my possession that you have reviewed this, you understand it, and you're ready to move forward with it, you're recommending it to me.
I move that we make a recommendation to the council.
Roll call?
I can do a roll call. Chair Kelly,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bortz, Chair Finley.
Yes.
Commissioner Finley, Commissioner Rota, yes, Commissioner O'Connor.
Yes.
Great.
Can't wait to meet this open up.
Okay,
The next one is, item 4, discussion recommendation regarding the Moretti Safeco bracket fund.
okay. Yeah, let me, so again, I have documents. But I also have a better than a document. I have the person who put this proposal together. This is John Letts, from our ISANS program. You've all seen and met him before. John, over the past 10 years, first 5 years, we made him do some improvements for capital or for rec credit. He's also taken on a lot of things on his own to do, to enhance his operations. And so he underwent a water pipe break that kind of took out rotted wall. He's done a repair. If you have not been down there, he has done the facade of the whole building in this wood, not wood, teak or that trash material. Yeah. It looks awesome. If you haven't gone down there, take a look. It's around the front of the building and then kind of off around the side. It just really changed the element of when you walk up there, it really does. So, John also has a few others that things that he'd like to have in his, capital. And he is also looking for a rent credit. It's our going thing. It's what's been working really well. And he does have actually two, options that he has brought forth to the city, which I think is great, because the council can work with it. One would be a capital improvement list that would give him a 10+10 contract. One that would be a 5+5. A 10+5. The first one, the 10 and 10, would almost be $1 million improvements, with the city doing, the city doing 500,000, and then he putting in his 500,000. The second one would be 600,000, which would be a 3 and 3. So 300,000 city, 300,000 I-tennis. These repairs go from repairs on Port 3. Four that are for the settling to new LED lighting, solar panels, resurfacing of the tennis court, locker room renovations along with the cafe. Fencing, light poles, and new windscreens. The other kind of the same, it just doesn't have the solar panels. Has a locker room, not no cafe, and no solar panels, and it has a lot of the same things, for resurfacing and some lighting. So John is here, so I would rather have John kind of talk to you about what he's done, and what he'd like to do moving forward. Just so you know how you're asking me questions, for the value pages, I have him here and he can answer your questions. But John, do you want to give a little bit of overview?
Sure.
Yeah, you can come on up or come to the table.
Oh,
Yeah.
Might be too much pressure on you.
No. But, yeah, just go through your, first of all, I didn't give you this, but I do have it. And I'm just gonna show you, it's very small writing, but it's along with the things that have been done. Yeah, it's small, right?
Yeah, well, I sort of calculated up, because we had all the rent credits, but the facility and I want to make it a great place, and I feel like we've done that. We've some great communities down there. So in addition to the specified capital improvement, and actually even before, because I came in 2007 under a sublease with Volvo. And then when I first came in there, I repainted the exterior, recarpeted, paint, everything to give it a fresh look. So I probably spent $1,000. Kind of like on the whole, like, okay, you stay. And that was under a sublease. And then when we got the first 10-year, we did a 10-year and a 10-year option, specified the capital improvements, and there was some serious deferred maintenance issues. The primary one was the roof, was just like water was flowing. Buckets to capture all the water and it was all racquetball courts and all the wood was damaged and so forth. So we specified in that first contract that we were going to re-roof, which we did. All the HVAC systems were old, and we replaced the HVAC with energy efficient HVAC. We resurfaced all the courts. Let's see, what else did we do? Lighting. Well, we put in new lighting fixtures, and we did at that point, I think it was about $60,000, which was like really, really bad. And there was kind of a new technology that had mirrored on it, but it was still, unfortunately, that was 10 years ago, and was right at the cusp of LED. And the LED was super expensive, and the lighting was weird 10 years ago. It was like different colors and so forth. So we didn't do we weren't able to do LED at that time. So we put in, but we improved the lighting dramatically. And so for the last 10 years, it's been much better lighting. And then, yeah, so there's been, and those were specified in the first years, and then that was, really fun, of course, to fix the facility up and get that, get people excited about it. And then we went through a period of time where we were, contemplating what other, the other thing that was, we had put some money, like $50,000 to address the court 3 and 4, which there's some linkage issues there. So we consulted with a bunch of different construction companies, and the recommended proposal was injecting this polyurethane foam, which expands, and it basically lifts, like, freeways that collapse, or, sidewalks uneven. So sure enough, we started pumping it in there, and it started raising, right? So it was, I think we raised it probably 8 to 10 inches. And then it just stopped. So it didn't completely flatten out. It actually got a lot better than it was. And when we came in, so it was definitely improved, but that's always been kind of the least desirable court to play on. But we never had an issue with people playing on it. It just was not the greatest. And then we've kind of been at an impasse with that, because it's kind of an unknown what's happening underneath the concrete slab. So I think that's something that the city's right now looking at, has hired a geotechnical engineer, and they take some soil samples, which you go down and just, dig into the concrete, and tell you, I guess it tells you how much water, there's a water plant underneath, how deep it is, how compact the soil is, because if it's very, bad, and it's very loose and not compacted, then the only, what would need to happen is that you have to break the concrete slabs, compact, and then start all over, which is a very expensive process. But the nice thing is the slabs, the people who've come out there and said, no, the slabs are in good shape. They really haven't, they were put in the 70s. They really haven't cracked that much. And when you see like sinkage, and those, usually the slab will crack. And that hasn't happened. So we don't have any like trip hazards, there's no like ridges or whatnot on the surface of the court. And we had a court research construction company that came out and told us, yes, and I barely know the end of a hammer from a screwdriver, so. But they came out and said, oh, we've done this before. What you can do is put these, pylons, and this is like houses on a hill step. We can put pylons in, and we can basically pour another slab, 3 feet over the current slab. We've done it a bunch of times. It works. There's a vapor barrier, and basically what we would have is 2 courts that would be this much higher than the other, would just be a step up. So I'm like, that sounds like it was about a $200,000 bid, but at the same time, it's kind of like, well, we don't want to. I don't know, and I don't want to go and do that only to find that 5 years later it's sinking. So I think that's where we kind of came. Well, let's get the engineer out there. Let's take the soil samples before we do anything else. So that's one of the things I was obviously proposing. I'm hoping we can go forward with that, but it will be a different circumstance if the soil samples come back and they say, you know what, you've got a huge plane of water that's sitting 20 feet below the surface. So that was one of the reasons. So I listed a bunch of capital improvements. And one thing I had mentioned to Sheila was that, one option, what I do is I have some other facilities that we manage for different municipalities. One of them is LA County. And with LA County, they take 25% of our rent and they put it straight into a capital improvement fund. And it builds and builds. And then basically we propose a capital improvement, and they can approve or deny it. And so recently we did new windscreens of the entire facility at Arcadia Park. And I think I mean, that's an option. I think the rent credits are good because then we, we don't have to go through the whole, the county have to do 3 bids, and I could barely get the bids.
And rent credits you will have to because it's technically half city money.
Did we do that in the
Mhm.
first 5? Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So then, so maybe it's just I'm committing if I commit the cash. So basically what my proposal is to say, okay, well, we'll put in the cash, for these improvements, but this lump sum. So that, if we get a longer term, would love to be there, retire, and, I've been in the same house since 1998. My first cousin lived in South Pasadena, so we're, local. So that the proposal was that we would put in the cash, have the match with the rent credits, but that we wouldn't that we might need to change the list, so to speak, right? Because it might be, oh crud, that whole 4, 3, and 4 situation is going to be $400,000, not $200,000. But we're, I'm eager, it's fun, and I'm really, I'm committed to the facility. Even, I was expecting that we had a 10 and 10 term, so I was expecting that we would just continue. So I have put in, just kind of a good faith, and it was needed. So rather than just like, putting up new wood shanks on the siding and fix it, I'm like, the plan was really, really nice. So we went ahead and, let's go ahead and do it. And then also with the lighting, unfortunately with that, the lighting we did, they don't even make the ballots for the previous. So we got to a situation where, okay, we can't even find those lights. So I just said, okay, you know what, I can't do it with the whole facility, I don't have a contract in place, but let's, I think it was $25,000 and we did it. And you can see if you play pickleball, the court 6 and 7 is actually brighter than the pickleball court lights, because they're the older lights. And they're fine, but you definitely notice the difference. So that's kind of the proposal, which is I'm happy to put in the money, in exchange for, that security of knowing I have time to make the money back and have the security of knowing I'll be in one place. So that was the priority was to do a 10 and 10, and then the other option would be a lesser commitment. So, and again, I kind of came up with that because what I did is I looked at how much we had spent, right? And I said, okay, we were allocated $224,000 in the first term. I looked at everything that we had spent kind of on our own. I'm like, okay, we spent $270,000. That's not our preference, right? We'd rather have the city as the landlord pay that, but we survived and we did it and we made this improved facility, and so I'm, happy to work with that model. So.
Do you guys have any questions for John?
Questions? So I understand you're, going to review this, and one thing I think that, of course, we talked about the raising the principal service. $200,000. What were the other items we talked about?
So the other ones that I put on the list, like I said, maybe some unforeseen things, pipes bursting, earthquakes, windstorms and fences. But what I listed, the big ticket item for the 10 and 10 was creating a little, like a cafe area, sitting area. We have an outdoor storage space right now. We don't really use it, and we have a men's bathroom, which is the shower area. Yeah, it's just old, and combining those two areas, we could create a little cafe, because we've heard from our customers, they're like, oh, wouldn't it be great if we could get an espresso or get a smoothie, or, I just have some drinks up front, a Pepsi, water. But, like I said, there's strong communities. They would love, our people would love to stay and socialize and have a drink and kind of extend. So I think we can do that. But as soon as we start, breaking down a wall, all of a sudden we have to address the The bathrooms,
Yeah.
they're not ADA accessible, right? So I put a, you know, a price tag on that whole thing is $350,000 to, it's basically, you have to blow out, you know, have to take out some walls to extend the bathroom area to make sure there's enough turn radius. You know, I think it's just, it's good for us and it's good for the city because all these old buildings, eventually they have to have this work done. Right.
That's for the bathroom and the eating area. That's all.
Correct. Correct. So that's what the one big ticket item. The others are are solar panels, on the ceiling. The fencing, it's just, it's, you know, it'd be nicer aesthetically. One of the fences is kind of leaning, but aesthetically to have like a coated, as opposed to the rust and the, you know, gray fence, chain link fence, it'd be nice to have like a black coated, so sometimes that can be pretty nice.
But how much you know?
So that was about $50,000. The court resurfacing, we have continued to resurface the courts. So we just resurfaced all of the tennis courts. In fact, we just resurfaced the pickleball courts. Have you visited pickleball? Oh, you should come and see. We just literally did that a week ago.
Oh.
We did the kitchen a different color. So we're constantly resurfacing the courts, but that's kind of going over the top. Usually it's about $3,000 or so just to paint over. But what happens is, if you really want to do it correct, you know, a long term and have it last like the 10+ years, you need to completely remove the surface. Either hydroblast, and with the arroyo there, we'd have to like have the water kind of force the other direction when you're hydroblasting, or you can grind it down. But you basically, then you put a black slurry, and then you put 3 coats, and that's more like a $6,000 or $7,000 court proposition. So we've been just kind of going over the top. Kind of. We did grind down a few of the courts in the first term. There were a couple that were really needed it. So we took the ones that were in most need of it and did that. What else? We already did the siding. Oh, it's the rest of the court. So we did 2 tennis courts with and it was $25,000, and we have 7 more, and the pickleball court. So figure it's going to be 5 times that. It's going to be $100,000. So yeah, and what, you know, basically what our priorities are. You know, one is you know, we try to do everything eco-friendly. We did a white roof when we first did a little more expensive, but that was suggested for the reflection of the light. What we also want to do, reusable, like water, like we have old water fountains. I want to have some nice water that we could just refill bottles with there throughout the facility. That's something that people have been asking for sure. The siding, you know, like I said, we just up the ante and said, let's do something nice and long lasting, because it's not wood, this stuff is going to last forever. So that's our one priority. Other priority has been kind of creating spaces for our patrons. So that's something we kind of have done on our own the last couple of years. There was some space between courts 4 and 5, and we put artificial grass. Again, we didn't want to have too much water, so we're just like, okay, let's put artificial grass, some furniture, a little overhang, put some fencing, and now it's a little sitting area. And then we created a couple little more sitting areas next to the pickleball court. So it's just kind of, it's making it a more friendly atmosphere. You can hang out a little longer. That's kind of the idea with the cafe as well. Let's see, I lost my train of thought. So spaces, pretty nice spaces, community, and I forgot my third priority. But that's, let me see. Oh, it's just what I've been mentioning, which is responding to what our people want, basically. You know, we're listening. You know, and so what we did is we had 7 old racquetball courts, and people weren't playing racquetball. And then we started a little squash program, and it started building, and people wanted more squash and more you know, we never really had a racquetball pro, and we got a really good squash pro, and then we got another. And so all of a sudden, it's, you know, we're basically it for squash in Southern California. So that's really created, and then with pickleball, that's kind of unforeseen, right? It was, you know, not on anyone's radar probably 5 years ago, and then all of a sudden, it's like, people are like, oh my God, pickleball courts, and people who are playing, our tennis members are like, you know, and actually what happened during the pandemic, a bunch of we had shut down everything, a bunch of our squash players came outside and started playing pickleball. So that's you know, another kind of we're listening to what people want and responding. So anyway, we're, you know, I like I said, I've been very, you know, pleased to be here. We, you know, we try to listen and try to react and do what we're asked to do, and feel like we have, you know, nice communities.
John's been very patient in the way of, if you guys know our public works department, they are extremely busy, and our public works director has been working with LA County flood control to kind of come in and, you know, walk through that line, that pipe that's underneath, to kind of see what it is, that if there's a problem there. And, you know, we met with John and had the geotechnical guy come out and say, what can we do? What are our options here? So actually yesterday I just got the proposal for them to do the boring. It's about $30,000. And so he's got it now, and we've just done some big, not big, but we've done some contracts to help us with some of these projects. So that's like an on-call service. And so Ted's kind of looking into, that's his name, as looking into actually taking and seeing if somebody we have now on service can come and do this work instead of having going through 3 bids and all that. So he's been very patient, and so we had a meeting, the city attorney, the mayor, myself, and Ted, about, you know, what can we do? And so one of the things we do want to think about is we need to move this forward, and court 3 and 4 are kind of that up in the air thing, because it could be as little as, oh, we just need to do this little thing, or we need to do this $500,000, $700,000, clear out the whole area, repack the ground underneath, put the new courts in. You know, so we have the extreme, but we don't know what it is yet, and that's why we need to go through this process. And so we really want to try and move this forward. So I just, you know, letting you know as well, we might go through this moving forward and not know exactly where court 3 and 4 are. And that might be one of those things, you know, we work with John saying, you know, it's not going to be in this capital yet, but we might come back to you and say, okay, this is what we finally found. Right. Because we don't know. It is an unknown. And, you know, Victoria works in city government. She knows it's not, things don't get to work 100% fast, and, you know, everything focused on one thing. So we're hopefully, want to move forward and get this done sooner rather than later with this contract here, so that John can move on with his operations and not wonder what the heck's going on. And so we're going to really trying to really get that moving forward faster. But I'm saying that as one of the projects in here might not be listed, and it might come back later to us. But I just want you guys to be aware that we're working on it. John's been patient. We got him to his limit, in a good way. It was a good push. No, I mean, but I mean, it's just one of those things that it's just so unknown, and we have had so many things going on in public works land, and we've lost so many staff. We're hiring new staff and just trying to get a handle and wanting to get this done for you, and not having 3 and 4 court 3 and 4 holding up this contract.
And that's
So
kind of why I was that, okay, well, if we commit this amount of capital,
right.
Before, I mean, you know, it is what it is. But we want to, you know, it's just, I just want to continue, you know, I want to continue putting, you know, putting time and investment into the facility, improving it. I don't want to stop. But there's, you know, and even if we had like an MOU or something, you know, saying, okay, well, we're something that gives me a little security, because I don't have a, you know, I don't have a contract. Something like that. So.
Which agreement would you prefer, the 10-10?
Yeah, yeah.
But the wild card then is the condition of
The court.
That's the one. Yeah. So hopefully it won't be too long before we have a little more guidance there, but.
Yeah. Anybody else have any other questions? You're good? You're good?
So do you want us to do something similar?
Something similar, just so that, when I go to council, I have that, that you understand what is being presented to them as well, and that you're comfortable with it, and, make that recommendation just as much. I mean, obviously, when things go to closed session, everything could change, but at least they know that, they created this committee for a reason. And, just giving you that, being able to have your hand in that portion of it.
Anyone have a motion?
Motion would be, I believe, just to, renew the agreement for tentative basis, correct?
Well, I guess not tentative, but,
This is giving council some terms.
terms, right, yeah, so do you guys, I mean, and I know it's hard to say because we don't know what 3 and 4 are, but, looking at, what John's presented, and I know you don't have it, but what he's verbally presented is, and say, yeah, it's a really good idea, and if we can get to this court number 3 and 4, a 10 and 10 would be great, if we can't, and you want to go a 10 and 5, one thing we haven't really discussed, and it wasn't in here, is, and I don't have the current agreement with this, but we go on, the current agreement states that year 11 and on is 7,000, and the CPI,
Yeah,
and do we want to continue with that in that next 10 years, or, and then into the 10 or into the 5, kind of just understanding and that from you as
I
well.
just looked at it the other day, and I think it was basically the CPI from year 5 to the inception of the first year, which would have been this year.
Mhm.
So that would have taken our monthly rent from 7,000 to 8,300. And then, of course, with our, inflation and everything, just in the last few months, the way it looks like it would be 8,700 as of right now. Which, we were, I'm willing to agree to that, because that's what our first agreement was. So.
So you mentioned the pipe and county public works.
Mhm.
Is there a pipe under them?
There is a,
Is it storm drain
yeah.
pipe? or-
yeah,
So,
and it's an old one.
so if
and
that
so
had to be replaced.
Well,
that
if
would
not,
be
if,
done, but-
if the pipe is okay,
Yeah, if the pipe's okay.
okay, the way it was explained to me is how how they used to pack the dirt around the old, these are old
Is it a
pipes.
cement pipe?
It's a cement pipe, but I think the compaction wasn't, it was kind of just thrown in, it wasn't really packed down. And maybe that's some of the reasoning why, that's what the gentleman John spoke with about to us that day. And maybe that if we find that if when we're doing it, it's a lot of loose soil, and not a good hard compact soil, that it does need to go, it'll show that we need to take it out, re-compact it, fill it back up to even, and then put our court back on.
Has anyone inspected the pipe?
Yes, the LA County Flood Control did come out and walk through the pipe, yes.
Okay. And
Yeah.
so
This
they
is a
don't
really-
see anything.
They didn't say anything, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I want.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, you do that, not me. So, yeah, so I mean, we've tried to do our due diligence on that way, but it also, it's the natural flow of probably where that water came down into the arroyo before there was a golf course before.
Right.
And so it kind of follows that natural path in there. And I think that's how they got that into that natural path. So,
See if I understand what we're looking at here.
Yes.
We're looking to extend the agreement, possibly another 10 years, and maybe another 5 after that, with a possible contingency that we may have to spend anywhere from $200,000 to $400,000.
could be, yeah, it could be more. It could be 30,000, who knows, but we don't know that. There's a big kind of unknown right now, and so that's one of those things that has to be looked at as, we want to move forward with an agreement. We want to look at the capital and, what are those terms? So if council says, we're going to take Port 3 and 4 out of all this, then we relook at this and say, okay, what is that new cost now? And then we figure this out and we come back with that cost and add into as an amendment or something. You know, it's just, this is a hard one, but we want to move forward to make sure that we get an agreement in place. Starting for January 1, John's just kicked off for the next 10 years and he has his capital to go through and whatever, you know, possibly rent credits. So, I guess, you know, yes, you guys want council, you know, recommend they review the recommendations that are the capital improvement that John has given us. They can discuss about court 3 and 4, maybe guidance that they want to give us, you know, because they are the end, you know, recommendation. And then maybe for you guys too is yes, continue on with the 7,000 a month with, and then the CPI increase, or hey, we want to charge him $20,000 a month and we want to make it 5,000 every year after that. You know, so, you know, that's kind of what, the going thing right now is where I'm at is 7,000 plus that CPI that, that'll go.
Well, I guess to me, the soil issue, or pipe issue, if you will, seems to loom very large
It does.
over all this. So, if it costs, you know, for the outside of the range, you know, which you mentioned, I think was up to $700,000. I mean, that would pretty much chew up $1 million capital improvement budget. So you really couldn't do $1 million. But I mean, I guess the question in my mind is, you know, you came into the facility and it was there, right?
Correct.
Right. So nothing I mean, you know, in other words, the problem developed
Over time.
due to actions of someone else, the county or
What, yeah.
or whoever built the facility. Or I don't know what it is, but is that a situation where he would be responsible? John?
No, and no, it
For
could
that
be the
or-
responsibility of the city. It could be, you know, that's something that council would have to look at when they understand the full scope of the situation, you know, because right now I can walk in and say, well, it could be this much, it could be this much, it could be this much. You know, like John said, he raised it as high as it would actually, and it kind of did a stop.
Yeah.
And you know, it's playable. Is it the best playing surface? No. Do people recognize the slope and notice it's there? Yes. Do we have a liability there as a city? Yes. And so, you know, that's why we've kind of asked John, the only thing I'd be at is you can only play from one side. So it's more of a teaching port, you know, type of thing.
So this could be written, the contract could be written in a way that says that capital improvements towards courts 3 and 4 specifically could only be a current budget up to 200,000, and then if it has to exceed that threshold, they have to return specifically to us for the purposes of that discussion,
Right.
correct? So I think having a 10 for 10 contract with that limitation on that one specific project is still a reasonable way to go. That allows the court to keep operating and doing the other improvements that bring in more business.
Very well said.
I would agree with you. You know, I think there needs to be some limitation.
Just limiting language.
Yeah,
Right.
that you know, because of, you know, the unknown.
Right.
The fact that I mean, most likely what you've done has nothing to do with the situation.
No.
No, from what I saw when I was there, you know, but I don't know for a fact. But
I think using that pylons budget, like as that threshold, makes the most sense. Because, you know, potentially that is the direction
Right.
we're going if
It
there's
could be 100%
nothing structural
solution,
underneath,
you know,
right?
just-
Yeah,
We seem to be pretty confident, but
My understanding is something would have to be done.
Yes. Right.
Well, something has to get that to be a better place. So
the problem won't last forever.
No, we don't know. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, it's, It's just this polyurethane that they shoot in and then it expands and so.
I have Councilmember Donovan on Zoom. He has his hand up. Go ahead, Jack.
All right, I had to come. Sorry I'm late here. These meetings, they just go on and on. In fact, is Michael in the room?
Yes, he is.
Okay, I'm just curious if he was.
Yeah.
I have we were both at the other meeting together. So, first of all, this one's directed at Sheila. And
Yes, sir.
Sheila, did you get a report from, I know you said you didn't, but will you be getting a report from LA County as to what they found in that storm drain?
I can ask Ted. Ted was the one who worked with the county. I can
Yeah.
ask them.
I think it's real important that we get a summary of what they saw and get something in writing. And, and then that makes it a lot easier to talk about. Number two is directed towards John. John, granted, I get in here late. I'm not physically there. Did you bring a summary of the capital improvements that you were suggesting? I did catch a lot of what you said. I don't think I caught all of it. Was there,
Yeah.
well, there was
Yes.
a hint. Yeah, excuse me.
You,
Okay, there
it
was
was,
a hint.
you do have it via email.
Yeah.
You and the mayor did receive that via email.
Okay,
The committee will not be receiving it just because it is a closed session item.
okay. All right, then okay, but you did send that today. I missed that, but I've been at meetings, so I'll be sitting right on my iPhone. Okay, that answers that question. Okay, so we have that. All right, we'll talk to Ted. Sheila, when you talk to Ted, could you get a hold of us and see what he said? I have to give
Yes,
us.
I will.
a call? Okay,
Yeah, maybe I'll bring that next week to the meeting as well.
yeah, I'm thinking maybe we should
So
get a
that
jump on.
all can see.
Maybe you should get a jump on
Okay.
even sooner, okay? I know John wants to put this together, and these are holdups, so. Okay, thank you.
No
Thank you.
problem. Mayor, do you have?
Yeah, already.
Got it. Okay.
So, did you want to make that into
A motion?
a motion?
Can you tell me again the terms? That's 10,
There's a 10 and 5 or a 10 and 10.
10 and
It's-
10.
yeah.
And then the 10, 10. is
And then,
for
yeah, so the
third.
two, in both of them, it's 200,000 for court repair on 3 and 4.
Okay, so I motion to recommend to the city council approval of a 10 for 10 contract with a limitation of 200,000 capital improvement on courts 3 and 4 if it exceeds that, to return to the committee and council for negotiations.
Is there a second? Second. Okay, you want to call the roll? Unless
Yeah,
there's
go ahead and call roll.
discussion.
Chair Kelly,
Yes?
Vice Chair Bortz, Committee Member Finley,
Yes.
Committee Member Rocha.
Yeah.
Committee Member Oakland.
Yeah.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, so the last item then is recommendation regarding the Royal Seco Golf Course.
I'd like to solicit him on this.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna put can you just open up that PowerPoint for me?
Yes.
You want to summarize what's going on?
Our last group meeting here, a few things about possibility of, doing an RFP that goes out for across the facility instead of one certain facility, the restaurant itself. And so, I know that, Dave Sams and Gene Kokorian are on this call as well, but I told them that I would open it up for them. So over the last couple months, what the three of us have really discussed is kind of, what's going on in the world of golf, what could happen down at the Arroyo, putting a new restaurant alone. Will that really bring the more, the business down there? How can we get people down there? And doing a full scale kind of overlook of the facility is kind of what we started looking at. And so And I'm really sorry, we're gonna have it on the TV for you. But I know that Dave and Jean can see this, and they've seen this PowerPoint and pictures, but in this packet of what you have here, and these are just kind of that conceptual idea of having it as a whole. So the first one is a Topgolf, and this is in Augusta. And I know you guys see Topgolf as the 3-story big facility. Well, Topgolf is now realizing that municipalities don't want that. You know, they want to have a nice driving range and have these things. So this is the Augusta, Georgia Topgolf that has the top tracer. They also have a mini golf in this one. They have a restaurant, outdoor eating, indoor eating, and a lot of nice open space. This is not on a course. So just so you know, unless it is, I haven't seen the course in there, but it could be. But this is kind of what theirs looks like and what that outdoor environment will bring as well. The next picture is part of their outdoor environment and looking into the driving range. So I'm sorry, it's not, because you guys have opposite pictures of me, so I need to keep track. So that's their mini golf. So you can see their mini golf, it's on the backside. So they do have a mini golf course. It's 9. It's not fancy. You notice it doesn't have, you know, the windmills and all that kind of thing, but it's a nice little mini golf. It can easily be changed to, you know, adding whatever we want. But you do notice that the restaurant is in the back there. You notice the outdoor patio area, and then there's the driving range connected to all of it. Okay, then your next picture would be of their outdoor patio area where you can see into the driving range there. What are you doing today? You're being a pain. It gives you kind of that outside look of outdoor dining, as well as inside look of the driving range and potentials that could happen. You know, we're kind of looking at potentials down at the golf course about having that outdoor space for entertaining and eating and things like that. Your next picture is the other outdoor patio area. That's kind of on the other half of this first patio. You see here, there's that wall. So it's on the other half of that. And then that little, you see the room in the building in the back, the peak, that is also their restaurant, you know. So just another look at outdoor patio on the same facility. So the next picture you should see is an indoor outdoor facility. And so nice loungy area. They have picnic benches. But no matter rain or shine, I can be there, still there eating. I can still be there doing Topgolf, you know, at the driving range. But just a different format to how looking at what their outdoor eating area looks like. Here's the other half. So if you notice, you have some nice chairs, a fire pit. You see into the driving range. You see into the restaurant. And there is also a music area. So there's a stage there. And I'm really sorry, Ken Jody, did you with Michael? Yeah, okay. You see the stage off to the area. And I think for us, a stage area like that would be something really good because we had the blue guitar down there and the jazz nights as having that outdoor entertainment. And it brings a different element too. You're not just there to golf, but I can be there and, you know, my husband's hitting golf balls and I get to have a glass of wine and enjoy the music and have some, you know, appetizers. So, just kind of saying, this is all one facility. Just a different view with the fire pit and the chairs. So if you were actually sitting in that chair, that's kind of be the view you get across the way. The next picture is just a closer up of the mini golf. They have a water feature. I don't know if we'd have water feature. In our times, no water. But we can make it South Pasadena-ish. And then there's the overall picture of their mini golf, their area, parking lot area as well. Lots of open space too, if you notice, you know, that we can create in our little area there that, you know, you have the music, but you also have people that can sit on the other side and maybe not hear the music, still have their conversation of a top tracer little area looks like in a driving range. So you have your computer screens, you have your little platform down below, and then you have your little seating area up top. So that's kind of that look that we're really trying to maybe bring to our range. is to really kind of make it a really nice outdoor whole family experience. This is just a shot of a level of, you know, that Top Golf. So looking at ours would be just one level through. You know, so they'd have the overhang. I can play when we can still come out when it's raining, you know, do our driving range, hit balls normally, but also play the games that are involved with the Top Tracer. This is more of what it looked like on an individual stall. You have your Top Tracer, you have your screens. People can watch as they hit the ball, the camera's on you. Just to kind of give you ideas of what it is. When I know we talked Top Golf, Top Tracer and things like that. If you don't know what it is, it's kind of a better link to how it looks. So when you hit that ball, you know, it'll actually show on that screen where it's going, you know, and how far you hit it. Easy to use for kids. Kids like, this is what they call Top Tracer range. So this is a kid can come in, hit the ball, and you know, it's for all ages. It's just not an adult thing. So Glen Oaks Golf Course in Glendora. The picture you have here, this is their outdoor eating area currently. This is right down the street in Glendora. This is the one I think we all need to go see in person. Do you think we could turn the Arroyo to look like that? I think so.
Is this a municipal golf course?
Yes. But you see the driving range? I think, yeah. Driving range there, you know, it might not have been as fancy as the Augusta, you know, but it's nice, you know, has the tables, the chairs, it's covered, it's got the lighting out there. It does have a restaurant as well. We go to the next picture. So that's what their driving range looks like. So if you're driving on the freeway and you see what the those weird kind of things, that's, yeah, you'll see it. So just to kind of give you a look of kind of what the driving range looks like. Did you show them that picture? Okay. And so we've been working with somebody to do kind of some renderings of what maybe we could do with South Pass. So the next couple ones are actually renderings. So there's the building. If you see, they have the pro shop open to the 1st and 10th hole there. Instead of around back, you know, so you can actually be seen, but you still have that front entrance. If you see the rainbow, you see the ostrich there, that's just mini golf. We were trying to bring in elements of South Pasadena. Our next picture would be the entrance. If you walking straight into the building, you know, if you notice, we kind of tried to use that same footprint that we have. There's the driving range, outdoor patio space, outdoor dining, and then the mini golf, you know, I was kind of giving her, hey, we have this water tower, kind of throwing elements of South Pass in there.
The building that's there now, is the suggestion here, like that building removed and the driving range is extended?
No, that's it. That's where the driving range is. And that middle part is there. It's just cut off with block wall.
Okay.
Yeah, where the patio area is, where the people are. Yes. Yes. And see that, you know, they still have the same look of the building with the you know, the pitch in front. I'm sure it's called something else architecturally, but trying to keep that same look. And then here's just if looking at what the golf course driving range might look like if we do Top Tracer, looking back through where people are outside enjoying outdoor dining, still having a restaurant inside. And then here's kind of a look at in whole. So you see the driving range out there, the range, the restaurant, the outdoor patio area, our little mini golf area, and then just kind of really making it an open, kind of friendly environment. You know how when you walk up, the chain link is right there. You can't go on one side, then you only can go in the middle. This kind of makes people say, oh, I can go up here because I'm just going to golf. I'm going to the restaurant, I'm going in through the front doors type of thing. So we just wanted to give you a little glimpse of what we've kind of been thinking about and working on. I do not mind getting us together on a Saturday morning, Sunday, going down to Glendora, so you actually can take a look at how it's working. This obviously would be a Topgolf company that would come in, and that's what we would have to, if we think about if that's something you want to do. I'm gonna let Gene and Dave talk about more about Top Golf. Gene has got a lot of experience. He worked with the city of El Segundo on their Top Golf project. And he is working with Dave Sams in Pasadena at the Rose Bowl, or not, Brookside, to about the potential there to put a top tracer range there. So we want to get it first. So people come to us. So Dave and Jean, who'd like to take it?
I can start. David, are you there?
I am
Yep.
here, Gene.
Okay,
Good.
well,
Good seeing you, Gene.
Sheila, you did a great job of sort of describing exactly the kind of concept and the flavor of what we've been thinking about. I think there's been a tremendous amount of interest over the past several years in sort of new concepts involving golf. Effectively, there's a really strong trend toward attempting to broaden the market. These kinds of things, the Top Golf flavor, the Top Tracer product that's been put into many driving ranges, really it appeals to a different market than just golfers, traditional golfers. It really has been very successful at attracting families, and it just provides an overall entertainment experience that hasn't really been there in the golf world until the last couple of years. I think that Arroyo Seco, you know, if we move in this direction, Arroyo Seco really sort of satisfies the criteria for selecting a location where you might do something like this. If we had to go to the private sector, I think we're pretty confident that we would attract a fair amount of interest. The one area that we would have to solve would be the parking issue. We probably need another 100 spaces, which you kind of figure you need about 1 acre for 100 spaces of parking. So somehow we would have to create that if we were to move something towards something that was sort of ambitious as what we're talking about here. But David, do you want to kick in here?
Yeah, let me just kick in. You know, I've been involved with Sheila with Arroyo Seco, I guess, since 2010 or whatever. But the more and more I think about the golf course, it's going that property is going on 65 years old, and really nothing's changed. However, golf has truly changed, and I think the city needs to look at reimagining and bring that property into the 21st century. And Gene and I agree that with the month-to-month agreement we have with the operator, no one in the clubhouse right now, that we could really do something special. It's amazing. So the management companies, there's many management companies that are excited about going to, they call it golftainment. I used to call it family golf entertainment, but now they're calling it golftainment. It appeals to everyone. It appeals to youth, older people, regular golfers. Date night is just truly amazing. And I've gone to quite a few places across the country over the last year or two. Actually, I have an individual now that's going to make go to about 12 places across the country that have the new Top Golf concept, as well with mini golf, as well as a good short golf course. And I've talked to various management companies, and I haven't told them about Arroyo Seco, but that's what they're looking to operate. And this is private funding. Gene, you might want to talk what happened to El Segundo, but the city really didn't put any money into that. They reimagined the lakes at El Segundo. That was just an old golf course, been there for years, and they reimagined it. Now it's, of course, it's a huge Top Golf, and it's my understanding it's just been unbelievable. So I think the city needs to look at reimagining that space. I kind of liken it just getting a restaurateur in there. That's just a small piece of the whole puzzle. It's like getting a iPhone and all you do is call on it. That's really kind of a waste. And right now that the city really has a wonderful opportunity to reimagine that. And I know there's a lot of individuals out there, management companies that would like to look at that property.
You know, David, one anecdote, just in terms of sort of the impact of products like Top Tracer. Glen Oaks is a really good example. It has the size of the range is about, it's just slightly larger than Arroyo Seco. And Arroyo Seco, sort of pre-COVID or even during COVID, it's doing, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, somewhere in the $500,000 to $600,000 annual revenue range on the driving range. Glen Oaks, with about 35 tees, does over $1 million on their range with Top Tracer. They're doing almost twice what Arroyo Seco does with this product that they're offering. So there is some potential here economically to make this thing work. And as David said, there is a real appetite out there at this point in time from the private sector to get involved with these kind of projects. There aren't that many opportunities. Arroyo Seco is certainly one that would be looked at.
Jean, can you let the group know about the lakes El Segundo and what they were getting and what they're getting now for revenue?
Yeah, these are rough numbers off the top of my head. The golf course and driving range were generating probably net income of maybe $250,000 a year. With Top Golf in, they funded the entire development, reconfigured the golf course, built a Top Tracer, or I'm sorry, the Top Golf product, and they pay the city annually about $1.2 million or $1.3 million in rent, plus some participation on food and beverage that's generated at the facility. It's a big revenue generator, and they can afford to pay a substantial rent. But the city didn't put any money into that at all, other than some going through the process of planning. So that's been a real success for the city of El Segundo anyway.
Thanks, Jean. Dave, do you want to talk about Brookside and kind of what you guys are looking at?
Yeah, so Brookside is unique. Many of you have been there, and it's very successful. But we're looking, we know we're not going to stay in the pandemic, and we're going to go back. And if we go back to 2019, every golf course in the country was struggling. Private clubs, public clubs, golf courses closed. And so Brookside's been looking at golf family entertainment there for the last 4 years. They want to build a 36-hole miniature golf course. They want to realign the driving range to go from 20 to 60 stalls and put in the Top Tracer that Gene's talked about, similar to what they're doing at Glen Oaks. They've spent a lot of money doing a negative deck on it to do it. The one issue is as you know, Brookside is used for a lot more than just golf. More people are on Brookside not playing golf, i.e. the music festivals, going to UCLA football games, concerts, soccer, And now we have AEG, who has a 10-year deal with this Rose Bowl to do music concerts on the golf course for 5 a year. So the issue is they're a major partner to the Rose Bowl, and they make it difficult for an investor to come in, and an investor that's going to invest $10-12 million wants it a certain way. And we have another organization there, like AEG, says, no, you can't put the top tracer there. No, you can't put the mini golf there because it's in our footprint of our concerts. So they have a lot of challenges that they're trying to get through. That's why, I think about South Pass. That is, it is just it's the perfect storm for the city of South Pasadena to look at really reimagining that. And it appeals to everyone. That's the major part about that. I think we're on 27 acres there. And, we get some children down there playing mini golf, but mostly it's just golfers that are down there. This will completely reimagine the individuals that go down there. It would be truly amazing, especially for the new 18-hole mini golf course. And it's so big now. Tiger Woods is designing miniature golf courses. Pete Dye, which is one of the most prolific golf architects ever, he designed a couple miniature golf courses. It's just amazing how people are changing, going from golf to mini golf. So I just think it's a good opportunity that cities should take a look at.
Anybody have any questions?
Question? Yeah, go ahead. Bill or Dave, when El Segundo made the transition, when the other gentleman, how long did that take from the day they took it over and did the whole redo or whatever? I think that's the picture. They probably redid the miniature golf, the whole experience. Was that a year-long process, 2 years? How many years was that transition?
Dave, did you hear that?
Yeah, I do. And I'm going to turn that over to Gene because it was a funny story. I think they worked on it for 10 years. They'd go out to vote and the council would reject it. Then and then the new council would come in. They said, let's revisit it. And so Gene can step in. But once they pulled the trigger, when they did the final bid, I don't think it took more than 2 or 3 years, did it, Gene?
We're talking El Segundo here, is that
Yeah,
right?
El Segundo.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it was about a 5 or 6 year period of just debate between the golfers and a lot of the council members were proponents of the Top Golf. The golfers were against it. And that went on for 4, 5, 6 years. But once they voted to proceed with Top Golf, it was about a 2 year process, maybe 2.5 years, something like that. And they built it.
And what was the time?
They built it in about 6 months.
Going on within
It
those 2
operated
years?
the entire time
It operated the
until
entire-
they closed to construct.
When you say operating, how do you operate it?
Well, Donovan Brothers actually had that agreement over in El Segundo and they managed the course as they normally did until they got a deadline time to go. And then they left and then Top Golf came
So
in.
the course kind of kept on operating and they did all the work on the driving range and stuff?
No, they completely closed down because they didn't they redo some of the golf course there too?
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
Yes.
And
So the
so
entire facility closed, right?
What we're trying to clarify is like, how long was it closed?
Yeah.
Like fully closed?
So was it 6
I think
months?
the golf
fully closed?
course- I think the golf course was closed about a year.
Okay. For construction or because they just didn't have a contract in there?
No, basically to reconfigure it and to reconstruct.
Okay.
And would you expect a similar timeline in South Pasadena where it's closed, the facility is closed for a full year?
You know, let me just think, you know, we're a little bit different there. I would imagine, you know, if they start, if let's say we go to the Augusta look, there's a possibility that a portion of the golf course could remain open the majority of time. The major construction is going to be at the clubhouse, the practice putting green, the driving range, as well as the mini golf. That's where the major construction is going to go. So there could be a potential of having a portion of the golf course open most of the time, I would imagine. Gene had mentioned something about we needing more parking. I guess that's a good problem. We have 135 stalls down there, and we probably need pushing 250 stalls. That means a lot of people are down there using it. And so that we would probably have to realign the golf course and put some of the parking on the golf course and realign some of the golf holes to get the additional parking, but we'd have to look at that.
That could be in a phase two where you have the golf course portion open during the construction
Move the
on one
range,
side,
and
and
then
then
swap.
once that side opens, swap.
Yeah, well, part of the issue on that, when they do the construction, you have all the workers that are working on it and the equipment going in and out.
Right.
That's gonna take a lot of the parking spaces away. So it would limit what they can do to the golf course.
Got it.
So I don't see vision seeing the golf course in operating for at least 6 months of this service.
Hmm.
Well, we would have to shut down.
Hmm.
You know,
Raise the fact that we need additional parking space. So I thought I heard you say a number like 100 additional spaces.
Yes.
Yes, that's correct.
We don't have any.
Well, you know, you have to look at it this way. So you know how the road for Stone or for Loman goes all the way down? Why would you need that road all the way down there when you can create that part as a parking area? You know, the road that you drive into. So you have
Yeah.
golf course and then you have that 2-foot upper parking lot.
Right.
Well, why can't you level that and make it across? Nobody has to drive straight through. You make, you know what I mean? You start rearranging that area and maybe moving the golf course in because we have a lot of dead space. I don't know if you've walked the golf course, but we do kind of have dead space. And so you reconfigure that golf course. I think it's I forget what hole it is, but from where you drop it in the hole to the fence line to where the dog park is, there's a huge area. So you reconfigure that and then you don't have such a driveway in and you kind of reconfigure that one side of the parking lot. So there's ways to do it. I'm not the expert in parking lots, but just kind of looking at that and moving things over.
Well, I hear you talk about, reconfiguring the golf course in order to get more parking space.
Mhm.
And then putting in the driving range, the adventure golf, the restaurant and all that. I would say that the whole thing shut down.
Probably. I mean, if we have to, you know,
Would
Yeah.
would the Top Golf, kind of, reconstruction include the golf course? Cause it would seem like.
yeah, it would be
this is
all,
pretty
it would,
fantastic, and then-
yeah, no, they would redo
Okay.
the, yeah. And that's, you know, you have the option. I mean, I know we have a 3-part 18 hole, but can you do an executive 9 hole? You know, and make your holes longer. Right now, I think 136 or something is our longest hole.
What would you recommend?
So Dave, Jean, did you hear that? What would you recommend if taking our 18 3-part out and doing a, you know, like a 9?
Well, I'll go first, Gene, and then you'll probably say, Dave, no, you're wrong, which is a good thing. It's that golf course, and because it's a 3-part, 9's probably going to be as good as an 18-hole golf course. Your money is going to be driven by food and beverage and by the Top Golf and the mini golf. For every dollar you gross probably on the green fee, you're probably doing $8, $10 on the other items. So people aren't really going down there well, they are going down there to play golf, but what I think we would have an architect or Top Golf would have an architect. They would look at, okay, how can we best make this golf course even better? And it could be a 9-hole executive. What that is they have just 9 holes with some 4-pars where a guy can hit a driver. Right now, a good player doesn't have to hit more than a 9-iron. And so, I have an executive course up north, and we have to turn it to a 3-par, and everyone's just upset about it because now they can't hit their driver or their 3-woods. So my feeling, a 9-hole executive would probably be much more appealing than the current 18-hole. But Gene, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, if you were gonna start from scratch, and you had that property, you wouldn't build an 18-hole par three. It's kind of redundant. So you'd probably use that and do a mix of par three and par four holes and do an executive. There's only one other 18-hole par three golf course in all of Southern California, other than Arroyo Seco. So, and there are a lot of 9-hole executive courses. So the market's pretty much gone in that direction.
I mean, so when you reconfigure, that's where you can reconfigure some of that area in, and also a new maintenance yard.
I don't know golf at all, but I was under the impression that's what made us a kind of a cool place, was that it was that.
We do have that niche of that three hole. I mean, but we only attract seniors and youth. So you change it up a little bit, you make obviously it's gonna be hit a little bit farther. But they're only walking 9 instead of 18 on a full course.
Could you tell us what the, how much does it cost at these places to play or do the driving range and mini golf, you know what I mean? Like, how would that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a different experience. Obviously, you're not just given a bucket of balls and going and hitting, for $12. So you might have a price of, is it hourly or is it's you do it on a timely basis? An hour time frame, just like a batting cage. You do it on an hour.
So I can jump in. I've been to quite a few of these Top Golfs, and they vary anywhere in the country, anywhere from $25 an hour upwards to $50 an hour. Now, it sounds like it's a lot, but I just recently went bowling, and bowling $75 an hour. Can you believe that? It's $75 an hour, but you can have 6 people bowling. So it's so for, let's say it's $30 an hour. A bay can have up to 6 individuals there. So there's 6 individuals that chipped in and spent $30. And of course, they get food and beverage. The main experience is food and beverage when you go there.
But also you have to look at that $30 or $50 as it's not one person hitting balls. You have a group of people that are there together.
Correct.
So it's split, it could be a split cost or one person paying it. But we will probably if we do this, we would probably move to where we have a few stalls that are a normal driving range for those that don't want to, right? We kind of looked at that. Dave?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I had a few questions. How many people do they get per day at like El Segundo and Glendora? Do we know about that compared to what we get here in South Pasadena now?
We'd have to kind of go through that. I don't have their numbers.
We could figure that out. I mean, we know revenue more than the number of bodies actually. So, I mean, we know there's more.
Well, my question is, what is the parking space increase based on then?
Well, yeah, it's to meet the, close to the peak demand periods. And I think, we'd have to do a little bit more research, but I think the 225, 250 spaces with this full concept is probably in the ballpark. I mean, the regular golf course, 125, 150 spaces is enough, but this extra component would clearly increase the number of spaces required.
And then the other question I had is, in terms of the other locations where where the Top Golf type of concept is being used, how do those compare in terms of accessibility to the Arroyo, by car? Like, accessibility to a freeway or a major, I mean, is that part of what they're looking for when they do this, is location that's easy to get to, or
Because the Arroyo is kind of out of the way.
Well, I think I'll just jump in. I've been to quite a few. I mean, in a perfect world, they like to be right next to a freeway. And when you think about it, the Royal Seca Golf Course, you can see the freeway from there. I mean,
But
so when you're coming up the 110, you will see the new, whatever we do there, the new Top Golf, which is kind of great. But I've been to some places where it's 3-4 miles off the freeway.
okay,
So
so it's a mix
yes.
type of location. Okay, it's not dependent on.
And I'll tell you, these Top Golfs right now are more like destinations. If you go to Vegas, everybody goes to Top Golf. If, you know, I mean, it's more of a destination thing. I was driving to Colorado in July, and literally off of the side of the freeway, I was like, there's Top Golf being built right there, because it has all these signs, and it was in the middle of nowhere. And I was like, what am I gonna be here for? But people will come.
I'm a little bit concerned, you know, just kind of what you were saying about like, even like coming into the Arroyo, you know, that intersection at the top of the hill where Mission goes around and it's usually pretty chaotic. You know,
Yeah,
talking
especially
about
when they're soccer games.
soccer games, or if you're on a bicycle, kind of on that bike lane
Right.
down, you get off.
The skateboard park.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, you know what I mean? I feel like, cause this is obviously cool and it would bring a lot of people there, but
Yeah.
like, I'm just trying to envision what that would be so messy. I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
There would have to be some major traffic.
yeah, it's already tricky.
If you would,
Yeah.
I mean, literally, you can have, 400 people at this place at one time.
You're gonna be seeing John all the time.
Yeah,
You gotta
right.
be Saturday, John, how many people down there?
Or
On the dock.
You got like 50, 100 people down there, 400 people. on
People love.
Where you, where.
Well, I guess have they had to do traffic, public works improvements like these in other locations? And if so, has the developer paid for those or split that with the city?
Do either of you guys know, Dave? Gene,
Oh,
did you?
I didn't hear the question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
me-
the question is, at the other locations, have there had to be improvements to the transportation infrastructure, the roadways, to accommodate them? And if that has happened, has the developer of the Top Golf facilities paid for those improvements or split them in some way with the cities or whatever jurisdiction they're in, counties or?
Gene, I'll let, I don't know that case. Gene, maybe you know?
I know that El Segundo actually did not have any impact. It was already, I mean, it's located on Sepulveda or PCH there, and
Pretty
it was
major.
efficient.
Yeah.
They didn't signalize the entry or anything like that.
Did
Yeah.
they add any parking there?
A little bit, but they're probably underparked by a
Yeah,
fair
'cause their
amount.
lot wasn't very big over there.
Yeah, I
Thanks.
don't know how many spaces they have, but all I know is when I go by there, the lot's full and they seem to be short on parking.
I mean, this is a 2-lane road, that goes in there. And it connects only to 2-lane roads up on top of the Arroyo. And, controlled with stop signs. And it's kind of a pea soup of intersections, to access that from the freeway, from the 110 freeway. Particularly with the train crossing there. So I'm just, I'm not saying it's a bad idea or a good idea. It's just that it would seem that would have to be looked at, because if you had, 300 cars going down there at the same time there were soccer games where you've got another 300 and then other activities going on. That's a lot of traffic for what's there now.
terms of the roadway and the
Right.
traffic controls.
And if you think
You know,
about
in a
going out
pulse type situation.
right over into the soccer stuff, like there's kids, and that was, you know, when there's soccer stuff going on, there's kids everywhere, there's balls, it's like.
Right.
You know, I mean, you have to go as slow as possible, you know, you worry about the kids and stuff. You know, and the stables, it just seems like, I don't know where people would get in here, you know, get out.
And bikers.
Like, yeah.
Sheila, can I jump in at this? And of course, if the city decides that, you know, we want to pursue this, they would do probably the same that the city of Pasadena did, you know. We were going to do an EIR. We were told, no, you won't need to do an EIR. So we did a neg deck. So that would all be done by the professionals. And I would suggest that be done, you know, because we can sit here and say, well, this will be that, but just have it done professionally. Just do, whether it's an EIR or a neg deck on, so I guess where we're coming, we already have people going down there. And the majority, a lot of the people are going to be coming down there after 5, 6 o'clock, because that's when this type of stuff really gets busy. It's not busy Saturday mornings. It gets busy in the late afternoons and evenings. And so, and they'll kind of tell you the traffic patterns and whatever. I know it sounds daunting about, you know, having another 100 spaces, but that's during the peak time, which would be probably in the late afternoons to the evenings.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Other questions?
I just want to say, like, to this issue of congestion and stuff, I think what's interesting about this concept is that those issues already exist. And it's something like this that's going to be the impetus for maybe doing the needed traffic study and getting the spaces that should have been there already, arguably. And so if this is the catalyst to make those things happen, it seems like there's actually a lot of potential positive benefits that come out of it, as long as we do it the right way, where you're doing things like reconfiguring, so you're getting more parking that would still benefit some of the other facilities, such as if the main patrons for Topgolf are typically coming in the evening, whereas a lot of your tennis patrons are coming during the daytime, they will have access to those stops, or to those parking spots. And then if you're doing a traffic study and it finds that there needs to be more traffic control than stop signs, I mean, that's something that, again, just based on everyone's experience in here, should kind of exist now potentially. So it seems like there's a lot of potential positives in having this being the reason to move forward, as long as these other contingencies are also built in.
Would they pay for something like that? Like if we had to have.
Within the negotiations, I mean, I think the hard part that I'm trying to understand with like Topgolf and El Segundo, if the city didn't pay anything into it, it means they knew they were coming in and gonna like recoup their dollars pretty quickly. And when you start having to put traffic studies on top of them, you know, they start maybe seeing some diminishing returns. There might have to be some talk among the council about, you know, maybe that's the city's side of the investment, is like the traffic studies and things like that, depending on how Topgolf is willing, or
Well, I mean,
Topgolf as companies are
the
willing to
number of
negotiate.
cars traveling on Sepulveda Boulevard.
Yes.
Or Pacific
More,
Coast
right?
Highway.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a drop in the bucket.
Right.
Compared to that.
Right.
So I could see where that would fly with a negative declaration.
Right.
But in a place where you know, it's basically a residential.
Right.
Street, you know, through
Yeah.
there. You know, this would be a change.
Yeah.
A significant change
For
in
sure.
my mind.
Yeah.
Potentially, I don't know for a fact.
Yeah.
So it isn't really analogous.
What did Glendora do? Because that's kind of out of the way area, right? And then you can see something from the freeway, it's kind of the residential neighborhood or border residential neighborhood.
Gene, Dave, did you hear that?
No.
The Mayor Catrioti asked about how did Glen Oaks do? How did they manage?
My understanding that they're, you know, the gentleman that has the the lease agreement with the city of Glendora, he just did it himself. I can check with him. in good contact with him, but there was no infrastructure change at all there. And they're in more of a residential area than I guess you guys would be. I mean, there's homes just right next to the golf course.
It's probably a smaller operation, I would imagine, than El Segundo.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Yes. It's, you know, the El Segundo.
Analogous to Hobbs
Yes.
here, perhaps.
The El Segundo, not a lot of those are going to open anymore. Top Golf has been going to just about every city, and Gene probably knows this better. I think for every 20 cities they go to, only one's going to accept it because it's pretty massive. I mean, it is pretty massive. So they need to figure, okay, how are we going to keep growing this company? And that's where Top Golf Augusta came. It's on the same footprint that Arroyo Seco is. You know, it's just one level. It's about the same footprint size wise, and it doesn't get nearly the attraction that a 3-level Top Golf gets, but they're very profitable. And so now Top Golf is looking at doing just 1-level Top Golfs.
Is the
And-
Glendora and El Segundo the only ones in this kind of area-ish?
That are doing the top tracer.
Well, yeah,
Well, El Segundo and Gene, I don't know if Ontario has opened up yet or not, but the Ontario,
Yes, they have the big Top Golf.
yeah.
It wouldn't be the South Half Community Party.
Right.
Yeah.
This is a destination party place.
A sub-regional.
Yeah.
Something
So
like this.
Dave and Jean, also,
Mm.
we could always bring Top Tracer and not Top Golf into our driving range, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
That's how Glen Oaks did it. They'd have Top Tracer within their driving range, and then they redid that element of the outdoor area because they have a restaurant there as well, right?
Absolutely.
They just don't have the mini golf. So it's not that you have to have the whole Top Golf concept. You can just do the Top Tracer, but if we're looking for the money side of it and letting somebody else do this, because I don't know if we still get into this management agreement, we're still going to be making probably what we make now. You bring in Top Tracer, okay, maybe it'll elevate that up. But it's not going to be,
Well, I'm not against it.
oh, no.
I'm
I'm just trying to let you know, there's another option, there's that, we don't have to have Top Golf. We can have that Top Tracer concept that they have in our driving range.
The top fish only does the driving range aspect of it.
The right? You can bring in Top Tracer for just your driving range, right?
Correct.
Dave? Yes.
Correct. And
Right.
I visit a lot of places that just do Top Tracer. There's nothing glamorous about it.
Yeah.
They just a Top Tracer. They don't even have furniture to sit down. They don't have food and beverage service. I mean,
Concept.
to me, it's kind of a waste. It's kind of like getting the iPhone again. I mean, if you're going to do it right. You know, put furniture out there. You want people to be enjoying themselves.
So are there other questions or discussion on this
No.
time? What would you like, Sheila? about-
Well, okay, first of all, I would like to, make sure we go on a tour, so you see what it is down
Okay,
there. And so
great.
we'll figure that out. And I'm sure, maybe Dave, and Jean can join us. If not, I know one of them will be able to. And then the other thing is just looking for that idea from you guys is, do you want us to stop and just do restaurant right now? I do have to do an RFP anyways, because we're on a month to month with Donovan, and it's not good to be on this month to month. So I'm gonna have to do that next step as well. Well, we are going to do that next step as well. So I mean, we can still get some restaurant information. Yes.
I like the idea of doing our driving range, mini golf in a restaurant. Same time.
At the same time, instead of pulling it piece.
And something similar to Top Golf. I'd recommend that's the way we go.
Yes.
This concept that's coming out here, John, we were commenting about how much it is, what it is. I mean, we visited Top Golf for an hour, with a group of 20 people, and food, golf, and everything.
Yeah, how much money did you put down? Yeah.
So, we're gonna do this. It's gotta be the whole thing. In my opinion, it's gotta be the whole. If we have to reconfigure that golf course, the executives, great. the parking situation and the traffic, it's just gotta be part of what we develop here. The money that will be generated from here, I mean, the city hasn't seen that type of revenue ever in this facility that they have. Making it, I mean, these renditions are great. Now, it brings it down to, you know, because most of these top golf places, top trading places, I mean, they're monstrosities.
Yeah.
You know, they got, I mean, it's like a huge building,
Right.
and there's everybody shooting golf in it. You know, but this would be, conceptual, place where everybody, and it would get packed, it would get, but it still will have our home, you know, look to it.
Hometown feel.
Yeah.
Hometown feel.
Yeah.
That, hey, this is where we go
Yeah.
for an evening or, you know, for dinner or whatever it is, and still have fun with the mini golf, the range, or the golf for the regular, you know, golfers that are involved. But, yeah, I'm with Fred. If it's going to be something that we're gonna do like this, I would push that it's the entire concept. We invent that area.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think, with, John and kind of making that facade of the tennis, bringing on a new batting cage and updoing that area, and you get the golf, we really start bringing that more alive. It's alive, but you're making it wake up a little bit after COVID. And, I think it could just be that, we started being South Pasadena as that destination to come to. And they're like, okay, I can go to a batting cage. At the pickleball will hit home on a whole lot of people. But I mean, I think if we start looking at it that way, I think it might be I don't know, I'm trying to envision kind of the whole scheme of it. Because it would bring people to our downtown area as well. It'll bring people into the city and going, oh, wow, South Pass, South Pass. I drive this, never been down this little main street here. Oh, what's this? Da, da, da.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting concept. My worries are, it not being, accessible for people who, you know what I mean, whereas the golf and stuff, before, I get the impression that was kind of, we were catered more to people, who didn't have $500 to blow on a night.
Well, I mean,
You know.
if you look at, that was 25.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, it was just it was
Yeah.
a party. So the revenue, I was saying, this is, somebody that wants to go and have a party, I mean, this is how much,
Yeah.
they can spend. I'm sure people can spend more.
Yeah.
It's the deal.
Yeah.
But the driving ranges, Sheila made a comment on this, portions of it can just be, where it's just for the driving range.
Yeah.
The bucket of balls and take your time. And other portions can be, they can just be conceptual to what the city and what the folks here want. Doesn't just have whole glamorous deal.
I think it's great. The easier to, right, to have somebody come through all this. I just, my gut just worries about the whole traffic situation, and then even what that means for the rest of the stuff down there, the batting cage people. I don't know. Well, I just have no idea what the whole scene of that ball to me seems like it's like a lot of.
When we do the batting cages and everything else, part right across the dog park. I think we've got a macro view because you can get a bunch of detail. And you have, so like you said,
Okay. Somebody want to make a recommendation? Man, it seemed like you sounded in favor of RFP on, the bigger picture and not just on a restaurant.
I recommend we continue on this. And, I like the idea that the site visit will go up, the operation there. And that, we thought, very.
Okay.
Let's pursue this.
Okay.
And we'll be able to come up with a folder in the city council.
Okay. Okay. So how about it's a recommendation to continue this item in a way, doing a site visit, and then coming back and maybe doing a bigger discussion
Yes.
on everything.
Yeah, I think that's.
Okay, a better understanding, get a little bit more information for you guys. Okay, and some of the numbers that some people have talked about on customers or the amount of people coming in and parking and that.
Just an idea.
Yes.
How long will this process take? I hate to see that, we're sitting here idle, but I know.
I know.
We haven't met for months.
Right. No, we'll be on a regular basis now.
Okay.
We will be. So, yes.
Let's try and book the, schedule the trip to Lenore that we're gonna next month.
Yeah, we'll schedule it. I just want, once we get this recommendation, we'll sit and figure a date that'll work, because I'll have to post it as a special meeting and everything, so. Okay, right. So Dave, Jean, do you have any questions?
No.
Okay,
I have none.
okay. Jack, did you have any questions?
No, no, I don't.
Okay, so let's talk about a date. Let's think of what's better, Saturday or Sunday to meet, to go down there. I know, we got a lot of stuff going on. I mean, it can be a Sunday too. I know.
I'm looking on the 20th.
My daughter.
College.
27 is good in the morning.
27th and 28th.
Yeah, I will be out of town.
Me too.
I'm sorry.
Sheila, can I bring up one thing? So I recall when we made that site visit to Arcadia 3-Par a few years ago. I think the mayor rode his bicycle there. I was very
Yes, he did.
impressed. Yes. So if we want to see it when it's really humming, I mean, seeing all the activity going on, you wouldn't get there at 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. It would have to be later on in the afternoon or evening on a Thursday through Sunday. Now, if you just want to look at it and you say, well, there's nobody here at 10 o'clock. Well, that's because, this place doesn't start humming till the late afternoon through the evening. So that's my only thought when we decide when we want to go.
Right.
Is there a Thursday, Friday night that might work for you guys? We can, we can go together. If you're coming from work and it's easier to hit that, that's fine, but we can all leave here together. I'm just gonna get one of our buses to take us all out as a group.
I'm out of town. I can do Friday the 8th or Thursday the 18th.
I can do the 18th.
Yeah, I'm here. I think.
I'm gonna be tough on this, yeah, because that's the week that the Thursdays when I drop off my daughter in college. That week's tough.
I can't do the 25th, I'm finance commission meeting.
I'm out of town.
About the 11th. We're going Friday.
Mm.
connection for a sec there. Okay, you guys, I'll send out a Google survey on dates and times, and then you guys can send them to me. And if we have to do two, I can always go out with you as well, and Dave Sam can go out with me, you know.
Yes.
But if I have a quorum going, we'll be good.
Can we go into September?
Yeah, what, how about September?
Yeah, that's fine.
Is our next meeting gonna be on the first?
That was when our next meeting.
And I'm gonna miss
You-
it, I'll be at.
How many weeks are you going?
For 2 weeks for the wedding.
Wow.
So we're looking at maybe February the second?
February, September 2nd?
I'm out of town until September 5th. I mean, I can always look on my own, obviously. You need a quorum ultimately. You probably will have someone there who can also
Oh,
meet
wait,
with us, right?
I'm on vacation. That's Labor Day, yeah. Okay, Labor Day weekend. I'm gone for that 2 weeks.
September 9th?
8th or 9th, 10th?
Both days are good for me.
Yeah, September is fine with me. I'm leaving the 28th through mid-October.
8th would be great for me.
The 8th?
Maybe the night number.
The 9th is better for me too.
9,
Mayor, do you have something on the,
trying to coaching my coach. But you know, do it every night.
okay. Mr. Donovan, are you available on September 8th?
I don't know. I'm kind of trying to wait to hear a consensus here.
Okay, that's the consensus. So far, we're looking at September 8th. Dave, does that day look okay for you on the evening?
I already wrote it down, so let's not change it. How's that?
What time should we go? If I leave, what should we leave South Pass here?
Well, so you got the 210 freeway, which is a pain. So would you guys like to get there at 6? Is that too early? Or too late?
So that would be leaving here at 5. Is that a,
Yeah.
I would meet you guys.
Yeah.
there.
you would be best there. So, meeting here, the meeting at 5 and heading out, yeah. Dave, you can go with us unless you want to drive your own car, but because I know that you're going
Yeah,
home for you out.
I'll
you-
meet you there. How's that?
Okay,
I'll
No
just miss
problem.
My Rotary board meeting that time, but this is the more important one. It's not- It's
okay.
the first Thursday of every,
But this is the second Thursday.
sorry. That,
Second
second
Thursday.
Thursday.
Okay. I was like, wait a minute. Okay. Okay, so then we are on for September 8th. Meeting here at the senior center at 5 or 6 o'clock, 6:15 maybe. Visit.
When's the worst traffic? I have to go to coach soccer game.
Hi.
Over to 210.
It starts around 3:30.
Yeah, later, maybe 6:30 or something to 7. It is bad. I know it's sort of,
Oh, leaving here at that time?
yeah, between Bill's right 3 to like 5:30 you'll move.
It's probably about a 40-minute drive. If you like.
Oh, 40. Oh, it's not that bad. That's 40 minutes. Well, that's my home.
40, 45.
Yeah, what's it, is it 5? Maybe 6, 5 o'clock. the worst drive out of that.
Okay, so we're gonna leave at 6 and be there by 7. Dave,
That's good. That's even better.
even better? Okay.
Yeah.
So, well, meeting.
And I will reach out to the operator who's done all this. He actually lives in Minnesota, but he's out here quite often. And I'll actually see if maybe he's going to be there that day and we could speak with him if you would like.
Okay, that would be good. And the more people we can talk to and ask questions to, the better. We'll learn as much as we can. Okay, so 9, 8, 6 p.m. Senior Center, and then 7 is the meeting. I'll post that. Okay,
Okay, well, thank you, everyone. I think we're adjourned.
adjourn. Thank you, Mr. Donovan, for being on the call. Thanks, Dave and
Thank
Jean.
you.
Have a good night, Jack.
Thank you.
Bye.
Meeting
On the
on the
Oh, would you guys just, instead of doing all these meetings, should we just do a do our meeting on the 8th and not have us as